How you doing, family, fellow genealogists? I want to share with you a few more sources that I said I was going to share with you regarding this tribe in the ancient Dahomey area and the Kingdom of Judah. So let me share that with you here. So this other source is, as you can see, it's written in French. It was published in 1890 by the University of Montpellier in France. So let me pull that up on the internet to show you. Okay, here we go right here. So let's do a little search inside. We'll just put in the word Judah, since that is the name of that village there. And we go over to page 272. This is in volume 13 as well of this publication. Okay, and here we have it. As you can see, it's all written in French, but we have a translation of what it's saying here. And it's, as we already mentioned about the already mentioned that the name of the village was known by different names. They called it Wida, Fida, Haida, Judah, and Judah. But basically, what the translation is saying here, it says, Judah is an old city frequented since the 16th century by the Portuguese slavers, who gave it its name. Its inhabitants were said to be Judaic, and they were indeed considered to be a remnant of the scattered tribes of Israel. So again, its inhabitants were said to be Judaic, and they were indeed considered as a remnant of the lost tribes of Israel. Let me show you another source. And as I'm showing this other source to you, I want to bring out to you, there also is another group that has been reported that they are also claiming to be descendants of the Israelites in Cameroon, there in West Africa. And this is called the Bani Israel. And basically they trace their lineage back to, they say, to the Egyptian Jews. They say that their people came from Egypt to Somalia, and then from Somalia to Nigeria, and then about 1,000 years ago they split into two branches. One went to Mali, and the other went to Guinea. So that's the Bani Israel. So we see that there's various groups that are having this common theme, that they have a oral tradition that their ancestors go back to the ancient Israelites. Is that just a coincidence? All these groups that are saying this? I don't think so. Well, let me share this other source with you, friends. Okay, this other source is called The Lost Tribes of Myth by Alan H. Godby, written in 1930. The Lost Tribes of Myth by Alan H. Godfrey. So let's pull this up on the archives.org. Okay, there we have it there. And let's read a few of the quotes from here. Okay, well, here we are on page 244 of this publication, and it mentions here that there was a distinct Jewish community that survives in northern Guinea. There's a large Jewish community. It goes on to say that they found the Pentateuch written on parchment in Hebrew letters, but they have no other books. Now, this was written in 1930. Okay, on page 245, goes on to say that 400 families claim Semitic ancestry, and they may not intermarry with fetishists, but may with Muslim families because they are monotheists. It goes on to mention here too that they're called Yoruba Jews. These Yoruba Jews claim that their ancestors were driven from oasis to oasis by Muslim persecution, not finding rest even when they reached Timbuktu. Okay, so that makes sense. So, according to their story, they were fleeing persecution because they were a minority. They were claiming that they were Jewish. And so they went down into Mali, where Timbuktu is, and then from there they came into the Nigeria area there. It says at present they number about 2,000 people in 20 little villages, and they call themselves by the Hebrew name Bani Ephraim. Interesting. And they have copies of portions of the Torah kept in a most holy place, but their social life is not Torah controlled. It is that of their fetish neighbors. So basically what they're saying there is that they, even though they're trying to keep their their faith or their worship of Jewish beliefs, it's probably been mixed up with the other pagan religions that were surrounding them in the environment that they were living in for all those years, and some had to do that just to survive. So, but isn't that interesting there that they said that they had copies of the portions of the Torah kept in a most holy place. Okay, now let me share this other thought with you. So on the next page, page 246, I found this very interesting. The writer of this publication, Alan Godfrey, he makes the connection, as we showed you, he was talking about these various groups in Africa, but then he makes the connection about the presence of Judaism among American Negroes. Very interesting. Notice what he says here. He says, these facts have a peculiar significance when the presence of Judaism among American Negroes is to be considered. Hundreds of thousands of slaves were brought to America from the Western Africa during the days of the traffic, beginning nearly 400 years ago. How much more of Judaism survived amongst West African Negroes in that earlier time? Isn't that interesting that he brings that question up? And then he goes on to make an interesting thought too, I thought. He says, how many of them might still hold some Jewish customs in their new home is another question. He also says it may be considered certain that many partially Judaized Negroes were among the slaves brought to America. You see that? It may be considered certain that many partially Judaized Negroes were among the slaves brought to America. Okay, friends, I wanted to share these sources with you today. So much going on in regards to this story. We'll keep sharing more information about this story with you. Until next time, friends, stay safe. and share an interesting topic with you next time on this, especially about the